Maybe you remember this, children so mighty, there's nothing my God cannot do. And then our psalm today said, O Lord my God, how excellent is your greatness. The very God whom Job thought was absent has been, is, and always will be utterly present. And not only is he present, he is powerful. And not only is he powerful, he is trustworthy. We could go to Europa and barely scratch the surface of all that God has created. Hebrews depicts God's greatness, Jesus' greatness and awesome power this morning. Last week, the author told us that Christ had passed through the heavenlies, how his power is utterly totally transcendent and completely cosmic. But now the author shifts from the up there to the right here. The cosmic king seated upon the throne of grace is also the one who cried aloud to God with tears and shouts of prayers and praise as he was on the cross dying. From the cross, Jesus cries out to the God who can save him, my God, why have you forsaken me? Because he, like Job, experienced what felt like an absence. When you find yourselves pleading with God, when you find yourselves saying, are you there, God? It's me, Margaret, or fill in the blank. Know that you are not the only one. Job did it. Elijah did it, and Jesus did it. The miracle of having a Savior who is both fully God and fully man is that he gets us, he's one of us, he's trustworthy and true. This is what brings us to Mark 10. While divorce and money, the last two sermons, and if you weren't here the last 2 weeks, you missed the awkward ones. Oh, yeah, right. I didn't touch one of them. Power and its abuse are a little more nebulous. Remember, Jesus has been teaching about his upcoming death and the cost of discipleship. So as they are on the way, James and John, the brothers of thunder, make a demand of Jesus. They sound childish, like a 4 or 5-year-old might sound. They say, we want you to do whatever we ask you to do. Actually, whatever we tell you to do. Jesus appeases them. He plays with their little game and he says, okay, name it. And they come out and they say, grant us to sit, one at your right and one at your left in your glory. This is a big ask. We might be removed from first century Israel, but we are certainly in the South where people's mamas raised them better than to ask for those seats at the table. The right and the left hand were seats of authority, of power, of prestige, and of honor. And the boys don't want to stand next to Jesus while he sits. They want to be seated next to him as though they have done something to merit such honor. To request such a thing is arrogant. To demand it is the height of hubris. James and John should have known better. They were with Jesus when he raised Jairus' daughter from the dead. They were with Jesus again when he went up to the top of the mountain, was in dazzling white with Elijah and Moses, talking about his death. While Jesus is busy preparing for a one-way trip of a lifetime, James and John are arguing over the seating arrangement. Let me tell you what that means in a story. We had an invitation-only event at our former parish to discuss an exciting opportunity for the future. Invitations were sent to 35 key leaders, but for that night to be successful, I knew that 3 of them needed to not sit together. You know what I'm talking about. It would have been a corner of trouble. So if I can quote Thomas Jefferson from Hamilton, I arranged the meeting, I arranged the menu, the venue, the seating, and I did it with place cards. And one of them didn't like it. When the leader of the trio thought that nobody was looking, and I was decidedly looking, she removed the 2 place cards from her friends and placed them on her left and her right. James and John are alive and well. The tendency to behave like James and John runs through all of us. The desire to grab power, purchase position, and demand dedication is part and parcel of our fallen human nature. It is subtle, sly, shifty, and we usually see it in others while ignoring it in ourselves, because no one wants to be found guilty of tipping the scales or engineering an outcome or using your position or influence to get what you want. But James and John represent all of us because we are the sons and daughters of thunder. We are guilty of grasping the power, authority, Jesus says, this is how it is with the Gentiles, but not so with you. The Roman overlords lorded their power over their captured people. Israel's religious leaders lorded their power over the very people entrusted to their care. This is why God says in Ezekiel, you were supposed to care for the flock, and instead you've gotten fat by eating the flock. Leaders in Rome and Israel were abused.